Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are now joined once again by the urban healer, Timea Urban, joining us. How are you?
I'm great. How's it going?
Everything's fantastic. It's a Friday. Rainy weather here. What about up in Toronto?
It's okay. It's okay. It's been all right. It's been rainy all week, but today's pretty. Yesterday was nice and sunny, so it's okay.
Good. Yeah, we have some bad weather coming in the next few days, so I think it's heading up to you. Is that how it works?
Maybe. Well, don't send it over there. Send it somewhere else.
Well, maybe your energy healing ways can help us move that, and that's part of just what you do. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 10 years. And through that journey, I decided to dive a little bit deeper into also the energy, the emotions, the mindset. And I wanted to put everything together. So it's not just a physical body. You have to look at the entire circumstance. How are your thoughts? How are your beliefs? How is your spirituality, and bringing it all together. So since then, I became a life coach. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I teach yoga, meditation. I'm a Reiki master, a little bit of everything.
Great. And you're helping so many in so many different ways. We're going to talk today about its fight or flight response. Is that what it is?
Yes.
It's happened to a lot of us, right? That fear,
All the time.
then whatever happens to the body, it makes you just on edge. What is it exactly? Tell us.
Yes. So this is a response that we are meant to experience regularly. So it's not a bad thing. I feel like it's getting a really bad rep of like, oh my God, you activated the sympathetic nervous system. It's so bad. It's stress. We're meant to have moments of stress, but we're not meant to live in those like extended periods of stress.
Okay, good.
So that's the thing here where you need to have this fight or flight response because it's part of the autonomic nervous system. And essentially, the autonomic nervous system has two parts, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. One is the relaxing, rest and digest, and the other one is the stress response. And the stress response is called fight or flight. So it's actually a survival mechanism that we have, which is super important for us to have super quick reactions. So let's say you're being chased by something, you need to be able to run away. Let's say you're crossing the street and someone like ran a red light, you need to react. You don't want to be like all in your ooey gooey, like meditative state. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't end well for you. So you need to have those quick responses. The problem right now, though, is that we have a cascade of hormones and physiological changes that come through any threat. And unfortunately, sometimes that's an email. Sometimes it's a conversation that you had with somebody. Sometimes it's your mind being anxious and spiraling down like a rabbit hole that's not even real and true. So you still have the same response, which then is not ideal because then you're in this extended period of stress. Your body is feeling those effects, and then it has a bunch of symptoms and unfortunate manifestations that come from that, which I want to kind of talk about. And also, there's also hidden ways that it can manifest that some people might not even know.
Ooh.
So this might be a little awakener for some people. And again, the way I want to like describe it, sympathetic nervous system is like hitting the gas pedal in a car, and then your parasympathetic is the brakes. So you can't always be speeding and going and going and going. Also, your gas tank is going to run empty if you don't fill up the gas tank. And here we go.
I love it. And what's his name again?
Bo.
Bo. Hi, Bo. Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
So the reason all pillows are on the ground all the time.
Of course. I have kids. It's the same concept. You get it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little about the sympathetic nervous system and how that gets activated.
Absolutely. So if there's anything that's stressful, any sort of situation, this can be environmental, like a work deadline or something important. It can be something psychological, like you're really worried about your finances, or what if you lose your job, or any sort of other like mental state that you're in. And again, if there is any sort of stress, it equals danger in your mind and your body, which means you're going to react. And again, this is not ideal if you're reacting to absolutely everything. You need to be able to come back down and kind of reset with the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is really important for us to know because like we are constantly being bombarded. There's a million emails, there's to-dos, there's expectations, and there's always things that are kind of like coming into our mind. So you need to be able to not react to all of them. And if you do, how can you come back into a state of relaxation?
Good. Yeah. How can we?
Okay. I know, like, how do we do that? Mm-hmm. So I'll be diving into that in just a second, but I do actually want to talk about what happens when the sympathetic nervous system is activated. And
Yeah.
it's funny because like we have talked about this weekly for months. I've always talked about the stress response, fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system, but then not everyone knows what that actually means and
True.
what that looks like in your
Yeah.
body. And it's like, you don't know if you don't know. So I'm just like, let's explain it just so you have an idea. So essentially, once the sympathetic nervous system is turned on, there's a cascade of physiological changes that happen in your body, physically and emotionally. So your brain will see something that is deemed dangerous or bad. It's a threat. Again, this can be an argument, this can be traffic, a work deadline, anything. This is then sent to your amygdala. Your amygdala gets it, which is within your brain, which
That's
gets activated.
like, I know
Let's
that's
talk.
something in my brain. I'm not sure what it is, but I
Where
know it's
is it?
there.
It's
Okay.
in there, in the
Okay.
brain. So this is the part of your brain that actually interprets sounds and images, and it also does a lot of emotional processing. So it's like if you see a table's just a table, but then like if it's like a piece of wood flying at you, which could be a table, is dangerous. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, for example, you see like a stick on the ground and then you're like, oh my God, it's a snake. Oh, no, it's not. That's not a snake. That's actually just a stick. So it's like how you interpret it, which then goes to your hypothalamus. This part of your brain is kind of like a command center that will just like look into like, this is dangerous, not good. And then it activates everything else. So then this goes down to your adrenal glands. So this is a lot of people have adrenal fatigue when your adrenals are constantly being activated because they're always on because everything's stressful. So this is kind of what starts that cascade of hormones being released in your body. One of them is epinephrine, and this is going to kind of give you that adrenaline boost. And everyone has had this sensation. So your heart is racing, you're breathing faster, your blood pressure goes up, your pupils actually change as well because you want to take in more of what you can see because you want to scan your environment of what's happening. Your blood vessels will restrict, so they become smaller, hence the blood pressure goes up higher, and your lungs will change as well in terms of how big the airway is because you want to take in more air in case you have to fight or flight. So again, you have these physiological changes, but sometimes this is just quotation, just anxiety because you are feeling like you're in a threatful situation, even though technically it's just your mind that has gone down like a rabbit hole of something being bad. So this is important if there is a threat because you want to be able to breathe more. You want to be able to have your blood moving through your body faster. You want to be able to scan what's around you more so you can actually take everything in. But then there goes the pillow. And that's good if you actually need to use it, but it's not good when it's just a neutral event. And it's like all of your blood is actually going to be moved to your major blood vessels. So, like in your legs for you to run, as opposed to your digestive system.
Okay.
So, if you're in a stressful response, your digestive system shuts down. So, if you're always in a stressful response, you're not digesting properly because you're not supposed to be like eating like a sandwich and running from a bear.
Ah,
So then you're going to have the bloat, the nausea, the stomach upset. And it's like, oh, what's wrong with my GI tract? Why is something like not working when it's like everything's working, but you're just always in a stressful state. So not ideal. And then the other thing that happens is your body's like, okay, something's going to happen. I need to run. I need to have all the nutrients at my disposal. So what happens? All of the blood sugar is taken out of the cells into the blood so you can actually like have the glucose to use as fuel, but you're also going to use the fat. So if you're not actually going to use the fat for like running away from something, it gets stored in your belly. So there's some people who are like, I have belly fat I can't get rid of, and it's like chronic stress. I have issues with my blood sugar and now I have type 2 diabetes. It's because you're chronically stressed. And then your body's like, okay, well, there's all this sugar in the blood, but we're not using it. So I'm really confused. And then your body doesn't know what to do with it. So again, this is not ideal unless you're actually stressed and need to use those parts of your body. So having the cortisol isn't bad, but you're not meant to be like pumping cortisol through your body all the time. So that's essentially what happens. And like the thing is, you don't feel that. Like your amygdala doesn't ding. Like you don't have like a hypothalamus activated. You can't notice. So it's a silent killer because it just happens. You don't feel those hormones going through your body. Yes, you have the digestive issues and your heart is racing and you're breathing differently, but then it's like it almost becomes your norm and then you ignore it. And then you don't realize that that's actually really affecting your body because you're not supposed to be in that state. Increase stress, have that moment, but then you're supposed to come back down and be neutral. But we're living up here all the time, not good.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, this is important. Could you give us details of why we should all be aware of this? This is great information. I've heard about it, the fight or flight. I've
Mhm,
heard about how the stress can impact the digestive system, and
mhm.
why is it really important to us? It really affects our whole body, right? I mean, and how
Everything.
else can that response show up? I mean, obviously, fear, car accident, jamming on the brakes. See a
Mhm,
kid running across the street.
mhm.
Um, how other ways can it show up?
So when people are in chronic stress, so their sympathetic nervous system is chronically just on all the time. And like again, think about like the car. The car can't constantly be running or the car because it's like shut down because you have too much mileage on it. You can't like, well, you can. You can leave your lights on all the time, but then you're like, oh shoot, my bill is super high. That's annoying. Well, yeah, it's not supposed to be on all the time. So, unfortunately, this is something that impairs you physically and emotionally, and it can actually be life threatening. So, chronic stress can be things like high blood pressure, cardiovascular issues, your increased chances of having a heart attack and stroke, anxiety, depression. It can lead to addiction because that's a crappy feeling. So then people are like, how can I get rid of it? Oh, maybe I'll try some drugs. Oh, I'll have a glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, a bottle of wine a day. Okay, that just added up and no judgment, but it's like, that's not a good sensation to constantly have your heart racing and your mind is racing and you're just like, I just need to shut down. I don't know how. And again, adrenal fatigue, low energy, digestive issues. It affects your mental health, your cognitive health. You're
Wow.
more likely to have like neurological disorders. So it's like increased chance of having dementia, obesity, inflammation. Like it's like your entire body is literally like on fire. And it's like, can we just like hang out and chill? Oh no, we can't. And that doesn't feel good. So again, whether it's like something not as important per se, like weight gain, which still is important because it's not good for your body overall, but it can also be like you can have a heart attack and stroke and die. So
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely big deal. So people need to be aware of this and really take it seriously. And it's just one of those things where you don't know when you're gonna have a heart attack or a stroke. And it can be like, oh, do you smoke as well? Do you have like pre-existing conditions that can increase your chances? Like you can be in your 30s and have a stroke that's completely debilitating and you have a like chronic condition you're gonna live with because you have a disability. So
Yeah.
it's not just for old people, it's for all people. And also just quality of life. Don't you want to live and feel good in your body?
Yeah. You're right. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do. And
Yeah.
by the way, what is your website?
My website is theurbanhealer.ca, CA because I'm in Canada, but I have international clients because I do everything virtually. So it doesn't matter where you are. I would love to have you. And then on Instagram, I'm the period urban period healer. Follow me. I always do giveaways, and there's always little tips and tricks of how to really hone in on your mental and physical well-being.
Great. Just I forgot. I don't think we pointed that out earlier, but it's a good time to
Okay.
always mention it as many times as we can.
There you
Where
go.
are we now? Are we at the pandemic level of stress?
We almost. So the thing that I wanted to actually mention, which a lot of people don't know, slash I actually didn't know, and I was like, interesting. Like I like knew it, but I didn't connect it. So I was like, okay, this needs to be shared. Fight or flight isn't just fight or flight. So that stress response isn't just those two options, which most people are like, yes, you're gonna fight. So you're gonna like stay and like you need to have
Hmm.
that energy, or you're gonna run away. No. Yes, you have fights, but then fight can actually show up in multiple ways. One, anger. You can have an outburst. You can have aggression. You might want to be like controlling towards other people. You can be super critical to yourself and other people. That's a fight response. So some people are like, yeah, I don't have my sympathetic nervous system activated. It's like, oh, but you're always crusty and grumpy to everyone. That's a sign. Flight, you don't physically run away. Sometimes it can be anxiety. Is your anxiety getting worse? Is your mind overthinking? Is your mind racing? Are you super obsessed with perfectionism? Or do you avoid and like hide and you kind of pull yourself back? That's a way of showing a flight response. Again, then you're in the sympathetic nervous system. And like we all experience this regularly, but it's like over the pandemic, it's gotten worse for a lot of people. So the other one is the freeze, flop, and fawn, which not a lot of people
Yes.
know
Oh, yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm.
So freeze, do you feel stuck or do you feel numb? So a lot of people that have had a stressful situation or some sort of traumatic event, they're just like, I feel nothing. I just don't feel anything. I'm just numb. There's nothing there. It's like I don't have emotional responses. And that's like your brain actually trying to protect you because you just experienced something really stressful. And then
Okay.
it's like, I don't want you to feel that. So I'm just going to shut everything down and you're just going to be an autopilot, not living your best life
No,
though. So it's like
no.
you need to really look into that. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
even just, do you not want to talk to anybody? Are you super quiet and still? Or do you feel like you're starting to isolate yourself? There's like hibernation or like depression, or do you just like feel really indecisive? And again, it's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. That's a freeze response because you've just shut down. So the last two, a lot of people don't know a lot about, but these are like huge telltale signs, which people should be more aware of because it might be you, and this might be something that's showing up in your life for someone that you love. Flop is a super extreme response. This is almost like the play dead, because if you're being attacked, how often do you hear you need to play dead? If you're being attacked by a bear, play dead, because then it's like not interested in you. So this is an aggressive example, of course, but
Yeah.
then this is kind of like a freeze response, except for your body actually goes like limp and you just can't, and you just disassociate. And again, your brain's like, oh, something really bad is happening. I'm just gonna shut this down. Or I'm gonna pull you out of it, just blow, and you're just done. So this is a really terrifying response because it's like my body's not working. What just happened? Fawn, a lot of people don't know about this one. People pleasing. So you are
Ah,
trying to make everyone happy around you to avoid the stress, to try to avoid whatever's happening around you to getting worse. So you get a little bit codependent. You have a really hard time saying no. You struggle
mm,
with boundaries. You don't have an identity. So it's like whatever your partner wants, you just do that. Or like, oh, this is what your friend does. So that's what you're going to do. And it's like this fawning response is something that so many people do, but it's again, it's showing that you're in this constant state of stress and your body doesn't know how to react otherwise. It's like, well, if they like me, then I won't be attacked. And again, not an ideal state to live in.
beautiful. Now, unfortunately, talking about not a proper way, a great place to live in or state of mind. It's been this for so many people for so long with this pandemic,
Mhm.
and that caused an immense amount of stress and anxiety on
Yeah,
people worldwide. So, would you say the pandemic has affected our,
huge.
responses as well?
Absolutely. So some people might have been in like kind of like a low level chronic stress, but kind of managing, barely, but managing. And then some people have been in like a really high level stress and like just not even holding on. And the pandemic was such a huge shock to everyone because it's like everyone was in isolation at some point and everyone's jobs were affected in some way, whether you were forced to go virtual or whether you lost a job. Like everyone's life got turned upside down when we were like not sure what's happening, how dangerous is this. Like it was just a really really traumatic time for everyone. So if you've had a little bit of trauma, this exploded it, and if you had a lot of trauma, this could have completely debilitated you. So this is again important for you to know. Have you recovered? Have you looked into your mental health? How's your body? So if you have things like chronic bloating, and it's like you have issues with your digestive system, you don't sleep well, you have a headache, jaw pain because you're clenching and grinding, low back pain. That's also a place people hold on to stress. You don't sleep well, your energy is low. It's like these are all little things, but they suck if you're living with them every single day. And then it's also unfortunate because you're going to go to your doctor and you're like, my digestion's off, and they're like, let's do blood work. It's perfect. Not sure. Sorry. Here's an antacid. And this is like my bit of a pet peeve when it comes to the Western healthcare system of just it's not just the body. Can you look at past traumas? Can you look at mental well-being? Can you look at mindset, the energy of it?
Ah,
There was no diagnostic in like the medical world where you're like, you know what, it feels like you have a blockage in your like solar plexus and maybe that's what's causing you to have nausea and bloating, as opposed to, well, your tests look okay. So it's like you need to merge the two worlds. And that's my passion, where it's like, I love science. I have 2 science degrees. I'm a registered nurse. Science is important, but some things science can't explain. So you also have to look at kind of the overall view. So it's like, even if you look into things like traditional Chinese medicine, EFT tapping, acupuncture, you have to look at those energy systems in your body, because that's you. You're not just a physical body, you're a mental body too. You're an energetic body. And you have to look at the whole picture. Otherwise, you're not going to get the answer necessarily that's going to help you.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. And you just got me
Mm-hmm.
on a train of thought. I got to connect with you personally. I've told you about my stomach issues, but you really don't
Yeah.
know. Nobody really knows. So literally, I decided to eat something yesterday. My stomach blew up. It expanded. I made a video last night that I was going to post, but I don't have time yet. I will eventually, but asking for help from anyone out there, because if I showed you what my stomach looked like now, I can't. I'm so humiliated. So then I showed my son's father, who came this morning. He went to help with the kids. It's like, you're going to post that? That's embarrassing. I'm like, see, look at your stomach. I'm like, I've been dealing with this my whole life. I look like I'm pregnant. I know I am embarrassed, but I'm also sick of not getting any results, sick of the doctors that have told me it's not this. And then the medication, the only thing that would help is the pull out bacteria is $2,500 a month. It's not fixing. As soon as I eat, I bloat. I get this dead. So I'm going to text you some pictures. Anyway, but in the next few months, I think I made a video last night. I could do it every day if I eat. We'll see. I went to a doctor 2 weeks ago in New Jersey who does stem cell therapy. So he's talking to someone about he knows me for 15 plus years. He says, Jill, I see it. As soon as you eat, it happens, or drink. And sometimes if I don't, he thinks it's the connection between the neurotransmitters from my head to the stuff. It's not processing at all. I show you these pictures and videos, you're going to be like, what? That's you?
No, but I get
But
it. I get it.
so I'm on my own journey of this, and I don't believe in doctors anymore, as far as that I feel like they've given up on me, but there's got to be someone out there who's doing something or some type of treatment. So my friend who is helping me now with the integrated health medicine, he's a former surgeon. He's reaching out to people all over the country who have done stem cell therapy research on the intestines and stomachs. And there seems to be a positive response to injecting them in that area that may genetically turn the switch on about process. I'm willing to try anything. So, all right.
Yeah.
So,
No, I hear you. And you're not the only one. Like, I'm like that as well, where it's like, I would have like a tiny bit of gluten and then my body just exploded, where it's like, you should be able to process gluten. But then, I mean, unless you are celiac, of course, but then it's like an inflammatory thing. So the smallest thing can throw you off. So if you're already super inflamed and your mind is super like on and activated, then anything extra your body can't handle as a stressor, because you're already maxed out.
Yep.
So even you chewing something is stressful for your body, even though like you need the nutrients and you're supposed to be eating, but your body's like, no, we can't eat right now. It's like, we're running from the bear. But then it's like, wait, there's no bear. Like, what's going on?
Exactly.
I get you. And that's the thing that I think that like people need to be so aware of like, your thoughts are really important. Your stress level is really important. It's like, consider traditional Chinese medicine. And like, that is huge, because they can pick up the energetic pregnancies and things that are kind of off. And it's like not comfortable to live with these things. And that's why I'm like, I hope people listen a little more, because I am a nurse. So I'm not just talking about spiritual woo, like I have the science background. And it's like, I've left nursing to do this because I'm so passionate about it and I believe in it, when it's like, it's important. Like things like Crohn's and IBS, like it's like, oh, it's autoimmune. It's like, oh, okay.
So
But how come some people get it, some people don't get it, and then you have a flare up and then you don't? It's like, what's happening? Like it's just a really hard thing to live with, because it's like food is important.
Of course.
So yeah.
All right.
So it's
Sorry.
like something that I really, no, oh my gosh.
We'll
I
talk.
love that you share that.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
So we're talking about healthy responses to stress. And is that where we are?
Yes. So, I mean, you can respond to stress in a good way and a bad way. Quotations, bad way. So sometimes when you're stressed, you can be a little more assertive, be more courageous, be a strong leader, set those boundaries, and have like your resilience built. So when you are faced with something hard and you work through it, you grow, and that's great. But then some people don't react well with stress.
True.
So it's things like you're becoming more controlling. You might get more angry. You might be demanding. You might have obsessive thoughts, or going into like panic or fear. You might become a workaholic. That's something I always did when I was really stressed and overwhelmed. I'm like, perfect. I'll just generate all this energy into something else that feels useful. It is more socially acceptable. And again, it's like I went through my party stage. I went into like drinking way too much, and that's how I dealt with my stress. And then I was like, okay, I can't do that. That's not good for me. So then I moved it into I'm just going to work too much. I'm just
Yeah.
going to go do too much yoga. And I got really fixated on that, which it's good because it helped me process, but it's not
Yep.
sustainable. And you just have to be able to be good with where you are and like learn to surrender. So the last thing that I wanted to share when everyone's like, okay, thanks for all the information. Now what?
No, go
Of
ahead.
course. So the whole idea here is that you can counteract some of these effects in your body, but you need to really check in with yourself and build a resilience and take time to be off, be in the parasympathetic nervous system. So how can you relax? Meditation, breath work, getting a Reiki practitioner and get Reiki certified, praying, visualizing, tapping, hypnosis. These are all beautiful ways of tapping into your brain and your nervous system and just down regulating. Healthy movement. So yoga, if you do like gentle walking, Tai Chi, not if you're too stimulated, doing like an aggressive workout might be too stressful on your body and it might not be the right time. Listen to your body, but then also having a social support system and reaching out to them, letting them help you. So creating meaningful bonds, being surrounded by people that you love, and like asking for help. Like there's nothing wrong with you. Humans aren't supposed to do life alone. You're supposed to be in a community. It's like we're tribal people.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to be together in a family, whatever family is to you. So reach out to people, ask for help, and like really find someone to get you through that, because when you're in the storm, you don't even know which way to go.
You're right.
And, so it's like, ask for help. And I mean, I find that it's important for you to have a therapist, but then also consider things like a life coach, a Reiki master, a holistic healer. Traditional Chinese medicine is so powerful. So like, consider the other ways, especially if you feel like the Western healthcare system is kind of failing you and you're not getting an answer.
Got it. Well, thank you. And how can we reach out to you?
There you go. So it's the urbanhealer.ca is my website. And then on Instagram, I'm the urban healer. And if you want to send me an email, it's hello@theurbanhealer.ca.
Awesome. Can I text you?
Please do.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
Let's talk. Let's do this. I got
Thank
you.
All right. I know.
It.
And we've been talking about doing a Reiki session for so long, and I haven't done that. But what I'm going to send you is going to blow you away. But I live with it every day, and I just suffer. But that's why some days I can't eat. But thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding and for being so passionate about helping people in, in both modalities. Thanks for today. Have a great day, sweetheart.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.